None. They still think the electricity's coming back. So, what was Tigger looking for in the bottom of the toilet? Poo. So, I'm going to take the humor out of the toilet. I'm going to tell some stories about teenagers. It got her laughing there. When I was preparing for this, I got to thinking, I've had a teenager in my life continuously since 1994, when my oldest daughter turned 13 years old. And I've amassed hours of stories, but I'm only going to get a few. When I was at Unity Village in July, I was walking the labyrinth, and I realized that in that group, I become a storyteller. Because every time something comes up, I've got a story somewhere about it. I'm going to start off with my son, Matthew. Matthew, today's my birthday. Matthew coordinated the whole family coming in next month for a camping trip. But earlier, Rebecca was talking about how her son is passing her up. He passed me up at 14 years old. He's 6'2" now. We used to shop together at Costco. And he had this game. Every time my back would be turned, he'd put something in the cart that I wouldn't allow him to buy. And he'd see if he could slip through at the counter. And one thing that we did with our kids, no sugar sweetened cereals. So Costco has these giant double boxes. So one day we're in the aisle, he takes that Frosted Flakes box and he puts it in, and I take it out, and he decides, I'm taller than you. He grabs that box. I grab the other side, and we start locking ourselves in a mortal battle, like in Clash of the Titans. Left, and right, and left, until finally, he went all the way to the ground, and we're still wrestling for the box. A very concerned Costco employee comes up and goes, are you all right? And instinctively, I let go of the box, and I said, yes, and then he gets up, of course, and puts it right back in the cart. I think until he graduated college, that's the last time we shopped together. About 8 years ago, I had Wire Ewers come into my life, 8.5 years ago or so. And the greatest thing about having those teenagers is I get a whole new chance to embarrass them. We had a little situation coming back from Texas one time when I forgot that the speed limit in Texas goes down at night. And I was about 6 miles an hour over the speed limit. And a little officer decided to pull us over and have a look, because we're in this white rental van, the tinted windows going through Texas at night. And just think of any stereotype you've ever seen of a small town Texas Ranger with a pot belly, a straw hat, walks up, and he decides, he says, just sign here. And I said, well, I don't want to sign, I want to fight it. He goes, son, do you know what you're asking for? I said, yeah, I'm not just going to sign the ticket. He goes, hang on. Goes back, runs my license, comes back with sweet words. He goes, I usually don't do this, but I'm going to give you a warning. Now, that moment, I've got about 8 or 10 teenagers in the van. They've been in Unity all weekend long. They're hyped up from the rally, and they spontaneously reach out to the officer and go, Officer, we love you, we bless you, and we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. And his response is, and he goes, okay. And he just walks off. And then there's the stories. Teenagers tend to warp their worldview into their own. So I had one time that was complaining that his girlfriend's mother had banned him from ever seeing her again. And he goes, it's so unfair. I saved her life. Well, how did you save her life? Well, I had this intuition she was in trouble. So I went to her house at night, and I crawled into her window. She was having an asthma attack. And I had to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Just then, her mother walked in the room, threw me out of the house, and told me I can't hang around her daughter anymore. But the two teenagers I'm going to tell you about as I finish up is going to be Aisha and I as teenagers. Now, some of you know that we met very young. She was in 9th grade and I was in 10th grade. And I was trying desperately to date her best friend. Her name was Mimi Peavy. And growing up, that didn't sound funny, but every time I retell it, it sounds funny. So she was at my lab table in biology, and I was too shy at that table to ask her to go out. So I would follow her to her locker every single day. And then in her locker was her best friend, Aisha, who we'd been at school for years together, all through middle school, but I'd never met her before. And Aisha would be there, and I would be too nervous now to ask Mimi to go out, but Aisha's standing there. So at the time, I had no clue about girls and what a girl's best friend means to her. So I had a very ill-conceived idea that if I just insulted this girl's best friend, Aisha, she would leave and then I could ask Mimi out. Unfortunately, Aisha's way more witty than I am. And every insult I gave her, she gave me even better one back. And this went on, had to be weeks, maybe months, I don't know. By the time I finally got Mimi at the locker alone, she was already dating somebody else. And then I made the best decision of my life. I thought to myself, boy, her best friend Aisha's pretty cute. And then the good decision was, no. Because I think if I would have talked to her then, she would have laid me to waste, and we would not be together now. So, about a year later, I found myself going to summer school. And coincidentally, Aisha did too. You know, in Unity we talk about what we hold in mind. We also talk about some people think certain things, but they're doing different things in their life. I had some not so good girlfriends, and I said, I'm done with having girlfriends, I'm done. So I set up a carpool with me and 4 girls to go back and forth. And Aisha came along with another girl that I knew. So they'd already been paired together to do a carpool, and I went to Mary Jo, and I talked her into coming into the carpool, and so Aisha kind of had to come along. And as fate would have it, every other person in the carpool was in the far end of the school, which was Del Norte, and then we were right next to each other. So over time, we started getting to know each other. Somehow, she had the patience and the forgiveness to let me spark up a conversation, and then we ended up hanging out a little bit, and we would end up dropping off everyone first and going out to pizza afterwards. And we really became great friends. But we would talk and we would tell stories. But then she told me a story. I'm 16 years old. She told me the story of a boyfriend that professed his love for her. I love you. And she said, oh, I just like you. Oh, so now all the teenage fears come up again. So after weeks of doing this, I'm thinking, I really like Aisha. I really want to make her my girlfriend because we're just behaving like really, really good friends. And so one day we pull up into her driveway, and we're sitting there, and I finally get the courage, and I say, do you want to be just friends, or would you like to be a little bit more? And she says, let's be more. And at that time I said, okay, let's deal with it a kiss. And that was our first kiss.